Welcome to Lesson 5 of Section 8 for the BJCP training program from the Brewers Anonymous Homebrew Club. We are continuing on the subject of the brewing ingredient malts and adjuncts. We've talked exclusively about malted barley up until now, and that's about to change in this lesson as we talk about other grains and adjuncts. So, let's get started. So malted barley is an extremely widely used ingredient. Possibly the most next widely used ingredient is wheat. Wheat is a key ingredient in German and American wheat beers. It's also used in small quantities to improve head retention in other styles. Wheat has enough diastatic power to break down its own proteins and starches. But the kernels have no husk to create a filter bed. Usually rice hulls are added to the mash to help prevent stuck sparges. While wheat is the second most commonly used grain, it's not the only other grain that's used in brewing. Other grains like rye, oats, and sorghum are also used in brewing, but usually in their raw forms. Grains are not the only source of fermentable sugars in brewing. A common ingredient used to brew beyond grains are cereal adjuncts. Before the adjuncts can be used, they have to be gelatinized before mashing. That's either done through a preliminary boil in a double mash process or by being flattened through hot rollers. Some of the most common cereal grains are flaked maize, flaked rice, flaked barley, flaked rye, and flaked wheat. The corn and rice adjuncts are used heavily in American light lagers, and the raw wheat is a key ingredient in Belgian and lambic beers. And lastly, we have a full range of what we'll call the other adjuncts. By definition, an adjunct is an unmalted source of fermentable in brewing. Outside of the cereal adjuncts we discussed, the other adjuncts used in brewing are corn and cane sugars. These provide a cheap source of sugar to ferment, but they are fully fermentable and tend to produce more alcohol and dry out the beer. Honey. This is also a high sugar content ingredient that can thin out a beer but contribute some aromatics. Maltodextrin syrup and powder. This helps achieve a fuller palate in the final beer. And then we have some color increasing adjuncts in the form of caramel, molasses, maple syrup, and licorice. They, of course, also add a bit of fermentable sugars and a little bit of a distinct flavor and aroma, but a large contribution to the color usually is drawn from these adjuncts. We are about to wrap up this subject of malts and adjuncts, but we've got one more lesson to go in this section, so let's head on over to that last lesson. It's up next.